Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the Volvo Guy channel. So I posted a video earlier for a 4-cylinder engine that I'm replacing pistons on it due to oil consumption. Now a lot of people might ask, well, why is it consuming so much oil? And the reason being is the oil ring they use on these engines. So they switched to a different oil ring on the bottom. So when you have a piston, you got 3 grooves, and the bottom groove have a 2 or 3 part ring that cleans the oil off the cylinder walls as the piston going down, and it drains it back into the oil pan. And when this ring is not functioning as it should, it leaves a lot of oil on the cylinder wall, and as the piston goes back up on the compression stroke, the top ring, the compression ring, will scrape all that oil off and take it to the top of the piston, and then it'll ignite and it'll burn it. So what happens is, I took this bottom ring off. You see these little tiny holes? Those are supposed to be open. So when the ring and the piston goes down, the ring scrapes the oil. Well, the oil has to go somewhere, and it's supposed to go into these holes, drain to the back of the ring through this little spring. The spring sits in here, and then out of the piston. I'm going to remove this bottom ring so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is the ring, and this is the spring. And then you see these holes in the piston. The oil would go through the holes into the spring, and into these holes it will drain out from the back into the oil pan. So as you can see, these little tiny holes gets clogged up real easy with carbon, and when they clog up, the oil has nowhere to go but to stay on the cylinder wall. It gets scraped up and it gets burned. And that's the reason these engines burn so much oil. Now they did change the design on the new 4-cylinder engines halfway through 2016 into a new design. So the repair to fix this problem on the engines that didn't get the new updated parts is to replace the pistons and the rings. Okay. Now, when you get a new piston, this is a new piston, and the reason they replaced the pistons and not just the rings, this bottom groove is different than the old piston. So in order to put the new designed rings, we have to replace the piston with a new designed groove. That's the only reason the piston gets replaced, no other reason. Now what makes a difference is these parts right here. This is a ring kit. And this is the oil ring, oil control ring that goes on the bottom. See the difference between the old one and the new one? You got two part ring, the spring and just the ring. On this one, this is how it sits like this inside the groove, and you see how much space, how much more room you got for the oil to drain. This is going to be a lot harder to clog up versus this. And that's the reason why these engines burn oil. The same problem happened with the 6-cylinder engines. Now the reason they changed the rings, I don't know if it's cheaper to make this one than this one, but there's less moving parts. They did it for emissions. These rings have less friction on the cylinder walls, and of course they did cause a problem, so now they're going back to this style ring, and that is the only reason these engines burn so much oil. Unfortunately, this happened early on. You would think they would have learned their lesson with the problems they ran into with the 6-cylinder engines, and we had to do the same exact repair on the 6-cylinder engines. 2010, in 2011, 2012, non-turbos, they used the same junk ring that we had to replace with a new ring, and this usually takes care of the problem. Other than that, these engines really, I didn't really see much problems with them beside the oil burning issue. They run good. We only had one engine that was damaged to the cylinder walls were damaged. The customer somehow got bad gas in it, and it washed the oil off the cylinder walls and it seized up the engine. But other than that, these engines really run good, and didn't see much problems. But this is why they burn so much oil. From what I understand, from what I hear from other people, a lot of car manufacturers actually switch to the same style ring for better emissions, and it kind of backfired on them with this issue. It cost Volvo a lot of money to fix these under warranty. They were losing a lot of money, especially with the 6-cylinder engines. But the 4s, I haven't seen problems except on the early on 2016 XC90s, and some of the early ons also, 15s, XC60s, I believe, and V50s. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to be installing these new rings, the new pistons on this engine, reassembling the engine. If you guys like this video, please leave a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys watching, and thank you for all the comments. And we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day.